All right, what's going on, guys? How's it going? I know it has been a minute, but I really wanted to go in and make this video real quick. This is going to be my ice shot barrage um, raider. So basically, what we're doing is we are utilizing the Hope Shredder bow, and we are stacking up as many frenzy charges as possible. Right now, I think we have seven. So we got 7 frenzy charges in total right now, and it plays off of a couple of different things that we'll go into in just a second. But what I want to do first is I want to just showcase the build so you can see it in action, and if it's something you're interested in playing, then we'll go over it in towards the end of the video. So we're just going to run this T14 strand real quick. Nothing fancy on it. It's literally just a random alch strand. But this is kind of the playstyle that you can expect. So we'll run through this real quick, and then we'll dive into the build. As you can see, it's pretty quick, super fun, clears really well. Oh, if I could not lag, that would be great. Come on, servers, don't fail me now. So when you do run into a unique or a tanky rare or anything like that, you just throw in some barrage action, which is pretty normal for any kind of bow clear build like this. You usually run a barrage setup as well. It'd be better if the density in here was better. Man, you feel that buff to boss life this league. Goodness. And voila. There you go. Pretty quick, pretty easy. I don't think this Metamorph is going to have anything good. Ooh, enchanted boots. Alright, we'll do this later. But anyway, that's kind of how fast it clears. You just kind of run. Your Mirage Archer takes care of a lot of the damage. And it's just really fast. You run around with 7 frenzy charges and crazy amounts of move speed, and it's just super smooth, super enjoyable. So what we have, let's go over gear real quick. We are using the Hope Shredder because we are stacking frenzy charges. Overall, this gives us more move speed than our boots on a bow, which is pretty nuts. It gives us elemental damage avoidance per frenzy charge, which is huge. It gives us leech per frenzy charge, and it gives us cold damage per frenzy charge taken. So that is a degen on yourself for every frenzy charge you have. It's not nearly as scary as you think it is because that is mitigated significantly by our cold resistance. So we're using that. We have a Delve crafted minus cold res helmet with just some life, not even a lot of resistance. This was only like, I don't know, 15C or so. Wasn't too bad. We are using a cold damage temple amulet to get a little bit of cold damage leech's life. You don't need this, but it is nice quality of life to have that little extra bit of leech. Nothing special here. Crit quiver. I'm going to be re-rolling this with something that's going to give me frenzy charge, cold damage for frenzy charge, and then some accuracy to just kind of round everything out. But not a bad quiver. Rings, I actually crafted both of these myself. That's one of the reasons why I started doing this build, because I crafted some pretty bananas rings and just got really lucky with a good Essence Slam on this, and then got lucky with a good drop on this. So both of these are pretty freaking good. Overall, this gives us a crazy amount of cold damage per frenzy charge. So 3 to 7 times 7, 21 to 49 cold damage on a ring. And then that comes out to 36 to almost 70 plus cold damage from a ring, which is really ridiculous. And then we also have the same thing over here, but just rounded out with a little resistances. So rings are very strong. We are also using a Hyres, really good dodge, just super useful for survivability. Gives you a bunch of damage to cold damage bow attacks, which is what we are stacking. And the only downside to this is it doesn't have any life on it. But as you can see, we're still sitting at about 5,700 for a bow character, which is pretty solid. So not too worried about that. But if you do want a little bit more life and not too worried about losing out on a little bit of damage, you can run something like a belly here. I wouldn't recommend running a comms because you do want to run a 6-link ice shot setup and a 6-link barrage for the max deeps. Right here, I'm working on crafting some new gloves, but these are pretty solid for the moment. Cold damage, life, little chaos, little cold resistance, etc. Ideally, what you'd want to do with this is get a pair of the Warlord's gloves, because these can actually craft an additional frenzy charge. So it'll give you +1 to maximum frenzy charges, which will push us to 8. And you want to try and delve craft this with frigid fossils, pristine fossils, and prismatic fossils if possible, to emphasize life rolls and emphasize high cold damage rolls. You want to do frigid fossils because the delve cold damage roll is the highest cold damage roll you can get on gloves, even more so than T1 cold damage from the normal affixes. And those are really expensive, so I'm crafting them because most of the stuff I'm going to have to craft myself because this is a little niche. But nothing fancy here. Stygian, life, resistances. Same thing, life, cold damage, a little bit of stats. Boots are pretty garbo, about 100 life, not even 86 life. A little bit of regen, which is kind of nice. Little dodge, little move speed, etc. These will also be eventually replaced by some Tailwind two-tones, which are also hella expensive. And we've almost saved up enough to snag our 6-link Hyries for about 400 chaos. So that's the gear right there, guys. Nothing crazy about the flask. Bleed, chill, move speed, diamond flask, and mana flask. I am going to be pulling out one of these flasks for a wise oak. I just haven't yet because trading for wise oaks right now is just absolutely awful for some reason. But use a wise oak and make sure to balance your resistances so cold resistance is the highest. That will give you really good pen, up to 15% on a perfectly rolled wise oak. Penetration, which is huge because bosses are tanky as shit this league. So that's that. As far as our links, we are running Ice Shot, Awakened added cold damage support, Chain support, Elemental damage with attacks, Mirage Archer, and greater multiple projectiles. So even with GMP, Mirage Archer, and Chain and GMP giving us a lesser multiplier, Ice Shot wrecks. It's extremely strong. Chain is huge quality of life. It's very, very nice. If you have some kind of passive Pierce somewhere, you don't necessarily need Chain, but what's good about Chain versus Pierce is Ice Shot, when it hits, creates a cone behind whatever it hits that also does the same amount of cold damage to whatever's behind it. So you hit something, it obliterates everything behind it. With Chain, when the projectile's chain, it's based off where the projectile hits, and that is what spawns the cone. So when you shoot GMP with Chain on Ice Shot into a group of stuff, every time it chains, it also shoots off another Nova or another angular cone-based damage in that direction. So what you end up getting is cones of damage that do overlap on top of things, which is why even with GMP and Chain giving us the lesser multipliers on our damage, it still clears like crazy because you are getting crazy damage explosions that is shooting AoE cones in all sorts of crazy directions, doing all sorts of damage. So that's one of the reasons why this works so well. Our barrage setup, we're using barrage, cold pen, elemental damage with attack, ice bite, just because we are stacking frenzy charges. As we get more and more frenzy charges give us crazy amounts of move speed, crazy amounts of cold damage, which synergize with Raider, giving us more attack damage. It's crazy. Scaling frenzies is bananas. So get as much frenzy charges as you can, and this build is insane. I have killed Cyrus with this. I have killed, I haven't spawned Shaper yet, but all of the other bosses, Bran, etc., have all gone down super, super smooth, super easy. It's really, really, really nice to run through with this. Our 6th link right here is going to be this Inspiration that we have leveling right here, because Inspiration has gotten a big change in the last league. Not only does it give you mana reduction, but what it does is it also gives you inspiration charges. And those inspiration charges give you more elemental damage multiplier per inspiration charge, right? and it gives you crit chance per inspiration charge. So it's a gem that reduces your mana, gives you more elemental damage per inspiration charge, and it gives you increased crit per inspiration charge. So this ramps up really, really well. With a little bit of tinkering, you can get your mana down pretty low, and it essentially gives you a bananas amount of elemental damage and free crit on a gem. So it's really, really good. Or you could also use something like crit strikes or the crit multi-gem if you really want to force yourself into just straight crit. But this, I think, still comes out in POB as being a little bit more damage. I will put the POB and all the stuff below. It's pretty sweet. But, yeah. These rings are a pain in the ass to craft. Just a warning. Usually I do pretty budget stuff. This is going to be a little bit more expensive because I got really lucky with some crafts. And since I've crafted this, my RNG has been garbage. So that's what I get. One other thing we are using Ensnaring Arrow on a Ballista Totem with faster attacks. And the reason we want to do this is because ensnared enemies take 19% increased projectile damage from attack hits. And on top of that, it decreases the move speed of enemies per snare, right? So this gives you a crazy amount of extra damage. You can really see it when you put them down. The boss gets ensnared 3 times. You hit them with Barrage, and it melts them pretty well. So you definitely want to do this. Drop the totem down. It's free damage. The totems survive pretty well once you get the Ballista Totem gem leveled. So you really want to use this. It really amps your damage. Highly recommend. And then for our ores, we are running Precision, Herald of Ice, Hatred, On, and Enlighten. What I'm eventually going to do is I'm actually going to be dropping Herald of Ice because the cold damage that we get out of it is nice. However, it's not significant enough, especially when we're getting almost double that from a single ring, right? So what I would like to do is drop a Grace Valgrace into this, because if we pop Grace, it's going to bring our evasion up to the cap of 95%, and it'll bring our dodge up as well. So it's just going to be better. So when you have Valgrace up, your dodge is capped, your evasion is capped. It makes you very, very hard to hit, which is super important in this league because metamorphs do so much damage. So much damage, especially when you start getting into later red tier maps. So that's what I'm going to eventually swap out of in there. Up here, just Blink Arrow, faster attacks, little portal gem. I do have Frostbite on a self-cast because this does give us some cold res to enemies. It also gives us some chance to be frozen, which is super, super nice. You freeze a boss even temporarily, get more deeps in. You're killing them and they are frozen and not killing you, which is super important. So that's the gear right there, guys. As far as the passive tree, this is what we're working with. We are Raiders, so we are going through Avatar of the Chase. Onslaught and chance to evade melee attacks and projectile attacks is just more valuable in my mind than going through Avatar of the Veil. The immune to elemental ailments, not really that big of a deal, because if you run into a ignite that's big enough that you really need to worry about like specifically carrying a flask for you, you're either fighting a boss that you already know you're going to be ignited, or B, it's going to kill you so fast it's not going to matter. So it's nice, but the exposure also does not stack with any kind of like frost bomb exposure. So if you're going to use a frost bomb to give yourself some exposure, this isn't going to benefit you very much. The Quartz Infusion is nice for the elemental damage and the dodge. Phasing is also nice, but Onslaught is just, it's better. You so fast. Of course, we're going through Way of the Poacher because we are stacking Frenzy Charges. This gives us Frenzy Charge Generation for free. And then Avatar of the Slaughter with 7 Frenzy Charges. This ends up giving us 56% increased evasion, 21% increased move speed, 21% increased attack speed, and 56 attack damage. That's a lot. It's very strong. So that is what you want to go for your ascendancies. You can go through Avatar of the Veil. I've just found it not as useful as having absolutely ridiculous onslaught effect and more dodge, more onslaught constantly. So teach their own. This is the tree that we're working with right now. The projectile damage actually is, you'd think, oh yeah, stack projectile damage. It's not really what you want. If you look at the POB that I posted down below, you can play around with this yourself. It doesn't actually give you that much damage compared to some other nodes on the tree. So these end up only giving you about a 1% damage increase overall. And again, you can play with it in the POB and see for yourself. But so we come down and we grab all this life. We come up through Heart of the Oak because this regen is also really, really nice. Not only do you get pretty reasonable amount of life, 4% per point, but you also get this regen. This helps, again, negate some of the degen that you get from Hope Shredder with all of the frenzy charges that we have. We came up through Winter Spirit. What this does is this gives us the 100% conversion to cold damage because Ice Shot already gives us 60%. So you're scaling absolutely pure cold damage, right? So you can do Fizz Reflect maps, all that kind of stuff without having to worry about, well, I do crazy damage, but my bow still has physical damage on it. Don't have to worry about it at all. Run those. Beware Elemental Reflect, though, because you will get freaking wrecked. Came down here through Lethality. Grab some more life through Thick Skin. This is a big wheel. You definitely want to come down here, right? This is free pen, damage with cold skills. We are running point blank in this. So the good thing about eventually being capped out with evasion and with our dodge is we're going to be right up in stuff's face, barraging the crap out of it. Super, super nice, super, super useful. And it's a huge multiplier, right? For free. For 1 point when we're already pathing down here, crazy not to take it. Just grab this jewel socket, just for some damage, a little bit of life. That's mainly what I have on some of my jewels. I'm going to get accuracy rating on that as well, just to push me right up to 100. Of course, we're picking up the frenzy charges. We do take this entire frenzy charge wheel because, again, this is giving us even more evasion per frenzy charge, which synergizes with our ascendancy, which is nuts. This gives us more movement speed per frenzy charge, which synergizes with our bow and our ascendancy for even more speed. And then attack speed for the same exact reason, and then 1 to minimum frenzy charges. So keep in mind, this does not give you a max frenzy charge. This guarantees you always have at least 1 frenzy charge. Not that great, but it also gives you increased damage per frenzy charge. So 35% increased damage is a solid node to take, even if it doesn't benefit us by giving us a maximum frenzy charge. It gives us a minimum frenzy charge, which is fine. More life, jewel socket. This is ideally what all my jewels are going to look like. These are super cheap. I think this was like 5C. So some of the stuff in this build is really expensive, but the jewels and stuff are super, super, super cheap. Came through Herbalism, grabbed another Frenzy Charge, another jewel socket, a little bit of stats in here, help out a lot. Went through the crit. As I finish leveling, I'm going to be picking these up. I actually thought about dropping down and not using this because the knockback on crit is really annoying if you're fighting a boss who is not like planted and can be knocked back, because you end up having to like shoot, run back up to them, shoot. So you end up having to like corner stuff. Not a huge deal, but it can be a little annoying. We are picking up Survivalist because that +1 to maximum cold resist brings our degen down quite a bit. I think overall with max frenzy charges, I'm only taking a deficit of about 100 life. So more maximum cold res you can get, the better. Came through acro, phase acro. We are using a Lionize to abuse, taking all of this crit and all of this leech. Because this is attack damage. Leeched is life and mana, so this applies to cold damage. It is not physical damage like most of the leech on the tree, so really, really useful here. Lion-Eyed Jewels, I think, are about 45C a pop. Not too ridiculous, but if you don't want to use this, you just take these points back, and you can allocate them here and go through Master Fletcher for more speed, more damage, more crit, etc. Came down Forces of Nature, Life Wheel. I took a little bit of additional accuracy because right now with our stuff we are at about 100, but if we take these 3 points out, we drop down to about 95, and 5% accuracy actually spikes your damage pretty hard. So I'm eventually going to spec out of this and put some global accuracy onto my jewels, and then that'll save those 3 points, and I'll just come through Heartseeker. We did come up here, grab more life, little attack speed, some dex intelligence, a little more intelligence through assassination because this node is bananas, and then we came up here and grabbed the life as well. So that's the tree that we have right there. And that's pretty much the build. You guys saw what it's like at the beginning. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will be uploading and keeping an eye on this because I have 2 more build guide videos to make because I have been hardcore slacking. Yeah, life. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, put them below. I'll put the POB, all the links, and all the junk is where it usually is on literally every other YouTube video. So check it out. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the stream. Hopefully I'll see you in the comment section. And thanks for watching.